So imagine moving your family into your dream home to start a new life, only to find yourself subjected to nonstop harassment from your new neighbor. That's what a black family in Virginia Beach has been living with. They describe an escalating campaign of racial slurs, loud music, and monkey noises. So, yep, a black family moves in and the neighbor tries to drive them out with monkey noises. Local police say while the behavior is appalling, it is not criminally actionable. Jannique Martinez joins me now. Jannique, thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this. Good evening to you. You moved in 5 years ago. What's living next to that been like for you? I mean, did it start right away?
No, it did not start right away. It started maybe about a year and a half afterwards. And it started off, just, during the day. And again, depending on which one of the families stepped out, a different song would play. The lights on his house would start blinking because as we step out of our home, we would trigger sensors that would then turn on music. Or we had one family, as soon as they pulled up in their driveway, the music would start. Or you step outside your house, everything will start recording. Or it was just constantly feeling like we're on surveillance, and then the music was just the cherry on top. It was a lot. But
So
that's what it started with, was that.
you got banjo music, monkey and animal noises, flashing lights, but there is more, and I want everyone to listen to what else your neighbor is playing. Here it is.
From now on, if a person uses the word nigger, it must be at least 7 words away from the word guy. It appears that the nigger guy of the mimic is Opal.
You've got 3 kids, right? How do you explain that to them?
Um, to be honest with you, my two older kids, they handled it very well. They just ignored him and just knew that, he was ignorant, and they paid it no mind. But my youngest, who just turned 7, he used to be terrified. And I say used to be because now he's come such a long way and he's found his strength and he's found his voice. But through, he's been living in this house since he turned 2. So that's all he knows. And so he was terrified.
Yeah.
He would be afraid to go get his ball if it ever went over there, or he would just constantly feel like he would come out and yell at him, which he has before. He'll call the police on the kids if they, go on his lawn to get a toy. He was just so afraid of him.
Did you have you spoken to him? Did you ever reach out to the neighbor and say, hey,
Only one time. Again, throughout the years, we try not to, talk to him or provoke him or anything. But one morning, we had just began virtual learning, September 2020. And, it was a hard time for us all. I'm working remotely, and where our office is, it's right next to his open window. And the music was blaring, and I went out there. It was around 8 o'clock. We had just logged in for school, and I asked him to turn it down. And his response to me was, well, let me call the police to make sure I'm in good standing with the law to play my music. And I was floored, because how about you just be a neighborly person, you know, a parent, anything to just understand where I'm coming from. And he was adamant that he was doing nothing wrong.
Have you ever considered moving?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
So I got to tell you that we reached out to your neighbor for comment, but haven't heard back. Police have told us that there is no crime being committed, because you said, you wanted to see if he was in good standing with the law. What happens when you call the police? What do they tell you?
I tell them about the noise, and they said they'll come out, and they do every time. They come out, they ask him to turn it down, and he turns it down. The last time I called and I expressed to them about the escalation with the N-word, and she said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do, go down to your magistrate." And I said, "Okay," thinking that that would be a solution. And this was on a Saturday. Monday morning, I go down to the magistrate and I felt dismissed. He said that it was a figure of speech or freedom of speech or a phrase, and I just was like, so where do I stand? Like, so there's nothing I can do. He said, "Well, we don't handle stuff like that. You have to go to civil court." I said, "Okay." So I went to talk to a judge in civil court. And although he was a little bit more compassionate, he just basically told me that if he did not threaten my family or pose any bodily harm, that there's nothing the courts could do about it. So leaving the courtroom, I felt deflated. I felt so defeated. I just felt like I couldn't protect my kids. I couldn't imagine living like this while in my own home. I couldn't imagine it. It really broke my heart.